Hello, my astrology friends and family. This is Lada from astrolada.com. And today we have another beautiful astrologer joining us. All the planets are moving direct now, so we're bringing in new talents. And this today is Bianca, Astro Bianca from Cyprus, who is one of Victor's students. He personally selected her, worked with her for over a year to observe her development, and he said she's incredible. Hello, Astro Bianca. How are you?
Hi, Lada. Nice to be here. I'm so excited. This is a dream come true for me. And I'm really happy to be in the Astro family with you.
Oh, I'm so happy. We're growing. Always amazing people. And since it is the start of Valentine's celebration,
Yes,
it's all about love
absolutely.
relationships. We haven't done astrology videos on love and relationships, and Bianca would present us with a fascinating topic, and we'll look at some great current celebrities examples. Okay, I give you the word. What about why synastry?
For the main reason I decided to go with Synastry is what you said, because we are near Valentine's, so I wanted to do a topic that is current and people are interested in it. But the truth is that I had a bit of a problem in choosing a subject, because astrology is so fascinating. Every branch really, it's important and fascinates me. But I think synastry is really important, not just for love relationships. Synastry in general, it's really important to after natal astrology, of course, because the most important is to learn about ourselves and why we function the way we do, why we behave the way we do, because it all starts from there. And then it's important to see how we relate to other people, and this can mean friends, parents, children, employers, colleagues. All kinds of synastries are important. I'll just give a brief two examples to show, like if you're going to have surgery and you don't want your doctor's Mars to hit hard any of your personal planets, especially Moon or Sun, because he can hurt you, or it can be life-threatening even at times. Or if you're going to choose a teacher for your child, you need to know that teacher is able to communicate with the child and be able to teach him. Why waste time, money, and effort and go through such frustrating situations that really cause problems in the long run as well. So
for the
this reason,
of the teacher of the child, what would you like to see well aspecting in synastry?
Good Mercuries, that they are able to communicate. This is one of the most important. And so that the teacher is able to go through to the child, and it's not really harsh on him. And also depending on the child's astrology, like what kind of element or modality is more prominent, we learn a lot about his teaching. I mean, his learning style. How does he learn? Does he like practical questions? Does he need more time, repetition? Does he need more theory? Things like that. And I think this is really important for all kinds of relationships. And even if we don't have time of birth, because I know it's difficult to have time of birth for professionals like that, we still can use astrology by using orary to make a question about the topic. So astrology can help us in many, many ways. There are many tools that we can use. So today I decided to look at two super celebrity couples, because I wanted to talk about love and relationships, which, let's be honest, it's the most important topic for a lot of people, even though the rest are also important. But a lot of people are very curious about love and synastries in relationship matters. So I chose two very different celebrity couples who are currently in the news, but they have very different stories to tell. The first one, it's a newly formed couple, and the other, it's a repeating couple. They were together in the past and they are again together. So we have to use different approaches to look at their charts to see how these things are, because they're both love relationships, but we want to see what kind of differences there are there. And especially if charts show repeat relationships, what are the indications for that in our natal
So many
chart?
people always ask me, will I get back together? Will it come again with someone I knew from school or someone I broke up in? So this is
Right.
an interesting one.
Yeah, I know, but there might be indications, but I really think that if there was a breakup in the first place, it might be difficult to make it work the second time around anyway. So I don't know if that can be resolved, because usually breakups happen for a reason. So I haven't convinced myself that it's really a repeat relationship. It's to stay, but we will see. It's not the same for everyone. It all depends on each person's natal chart initially. So the new hot couple in town is Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson, and
Okay,
the other.
I'll share the chart. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And the second is Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. Before looking at their charts, let me talk though a little bit about love synastry and how we use it. The synastry is the overlay of the two charts, and we do that to compare how the planets of the two partners interact with each other as a first layer. The second layer is how the planets of the one partner trigger the houses of the other one. And we can imagine this as the planets of the one partner transiting the houses of the other partner, but this is on a permanent basis. So we feel it all the time. It's not just a temporary transit. So it's not just the interaction between the planets that is important, but also how and which houses are triggered and by which planets. It's not the same if a personal benefic planet such as Venus, or a difficult or malefic planet such as Saturn or Pluto triggers the house. The methodology shows us the daily interaction of the couple, how they interact with each other on a daily basis. This is about synastry, the overlay of the chart. The experience, though, it's not the same. The two people do not feel it the same way, because the stronger planet and how it affects the planet of the other person, it's the one that plays the most important role. I want to mention here that I don't look that much at the aspects as being squares, oppositions, trines, etc., because the aspects are dynamic. We first need to assess the strength of each planet, and if it's positive or negative, whether it likes the other planet or not. And that's how we decide if the aspect would be challenging or easier. For example, an opposition between Mars in Aries and Venus in Libra, I don't consider it such a bad opposition, because both planets are in rulership. So when planets are in rulership, they are not, even if it's a malefic like Mars, it feels okay. It's not frustrated. So why would it behave?
They act from the highest dignified.
Exactly.
More, yeah.
Exactly, yes, exactly. So they don't want to hurt the other planet, even if they don't like it that much. So in this situation, I would consider it as a very passionate and there is attraction between the two people. And as any difficulties that might show up because it's an opposition, they can be worked out. It's not the end of the story there. So the aspect may not flow easily, but it can be worked out. In this example, I would say that Venus is more willing to let Mars be the leader, because Mars in Aries always wants to be number one, to be the leader. And Venus in Libra, it's about diplomacy, harmony, compromising. So this is the reason why it's not a bad opposition. Venus in Libra will be willing to compromise and allow Mars to be the leader, so they can find a solution. However, it all starts with the two separate natal charts. We cannot just take aspects individually and draw conclusions just on that. We have to take an overall look and see the psychology of the person, the psyche, how he or she behaves first on their own, and how they view relationships before we can move on to compare synastries. So the natal chart will give us information about each person separately and how they behave, how they see relationships, if they commit to a serious relationship, and if they are marriage material. Also, what phase in their life they are in at the moment is important, because it might be a good synastry and a good connection of planets, but the timing might be off. Timing is everything, I think. So, and it's not a step that we can avoid. We have to look at the astrology properly, if we want to look at astrology, synastry properly. For this reason, I consider that a correct time of birth is really essential, because most people do not have accurate time of birth. And in the best case scenario, they are a few minutes off for various reasons. But I really think that this mismatch can cause predictions to be off by significant amount of time, because consider that a 5-minute difference in the time of birth can make predictions fall off by up to 3 years. If the ascendant or any significant cusp of house it's a degree or more away, Pluto might not reach it before 3 years. So it's important to know the correct time of birth. For this reason, especially for synastries, I recommend to everyone to do this investment, because if you don't have correct data to start with, everything will be so and so. It's not going to be one. We can never be sure. This is my personal opinion. But even without accurate time, we can still draw a lot of conclusions from synastry and the composite and how the planets interact, even though we are not going to be able to check houses, and the moon position might be slightly off. And in some cases, as one of the examples we will look at today, this is important. It makes a difference, because the moon might be changing signs. So you cannot be certain if you don't. You can still draw conclusions if you know the person and you talk to them and they give you some background information. You can determine where the moon is, if it's not influenced by other aspects as well, mostly. But in some cases, we don't have that opportunity to talk to people to see what's going on. So after we explore the two charts separately, we compare the interaction of the planets and how the houses are affected. And then we also need to look at the composite chart. With the composite chart is a midpoint, the midpoint of the planets of the two persons brought together. And basically, it's not a real chart. It's like artificial standalone secondary chart. But what is important about it is that it shows us how the two persons experience the relationship equally, because the planets represent the relationship and the persons that form the relationship. So any aspect in it, the aspects are much more important than the placement of the planets, and the houses are important, and their meanings are a bit different than regular natal chart. For example, the 7th house doesn't show marriage as in the natal chart. There are a few differences. Or if 5th house is really strong, it doesn't mean that the two persons will be permanently together. It just means that they have fun together. So they might be seeing the relationship as more of a friendlier or more on a superficial level. So there are a few differences compared to natal chart.
So
and
when
it's
you
important.
do history, you always do the 3 things. You look at the separate charts, if a person is a double relationship material, what they like, and you put one chart on top of the other, which we call synastry chart. So you see how they interact as one person to another, and then you mix their planets in something that is like one person becoming from both. What is the energy imprint as a couple, basically?
Exactly, yeah. And the other thing that is important about the composite is that it can show us the way the relationship is gonna end. Even if a couple has a great synastry, if there are difficult aspects in the composite, some aspects are really, really hard. This can show that the relationship is not gonna survive, and the other way around. Some people have bad synastries, or when we just look at the synastry, we might say that they're not gonna make it, and they end up having a long-term satisfying relationship. So it all depends on a lot of things. It's not just one thing, it's a combination, but the composite does show us, because the reason is that both people experience the energy equally. So if there is a hard aspect, they both experience it the same way. So they might say, no, let's forget or let's get over with this bad situation.
Should I share the chart?
Yes, but before that, let me add a few more things that I do in my reading that I'm not going to do today here, because this we said it's going to be just a quick thing to show a few stuff. The other thing that I do when I look at synastries, it's I compare the tropical zodiac with the sidereal. I cast the chart, the natal chart for one person in the tropical, and for the other person in the sidereal, and then the opposite way. And if there are planets making aspects, those are very important in the psychological, mostly effect. They you can feel it. It's more on an emotional level.
Oh, that's
and finally, the midpoints. Whether the planets of one person trigger any of the midpoints of the other person, especially with regards to sexuality, passion, marriage, and all that stuff. So we get a lot of information from different methods. And when we add it all together and compare it, we can easily see whether the couple will stay together, if there is potential or no. So, okay, yes, let's move on to see our couples. We will start with Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson. So here I would like to look at their charts a bit differently, because Kim and Pete are a very recent couple. So we will need to look at what has brought them together and then explore the dynamics of the relationship. Is it real? Is it going to be long lasting? Why were these two people brought together? On the other hand, Jennifer and Ben have been together before. They almost got married but broke up, and that was 19 years ago, which is important actually, because it's a return of the note. And what can their synastry and composite chart tell us about this? Do the charts show that they can be together again? So Kim was born on 21st of October 1980, time according to sources online 10:46 Los Angeles. And I'm kind of wondering if it's a rectified chart because of the Moon Jupiter opposition right on the cusp of the 4th and 10th house, which can also show her famous family and stuff. So the chart might have been rectified. She's Sagittarius ascendant, Sun in Libra, Moon in Pisces. Dominant modality, she is mutable, so she's quite flexible, but can be also indecisive because of the Libra Sun as well. Changes can be changing her mind frequently. The dominant element is more or less balanced, but fire is a bit stronger, so gives her a little bit of an impulse. And the most important aspects in her chart is the Moon-Jupiter opposition and Venus-Neptune square, which is in the 1st and 9th house. And immediately we can see that this is a very sensitive person. The Moon-Jupiter also stands out, which could be talking about the famous family, and also Sag rising and Libra Sun. Give her this friendliness, she's a very sociable person, diplomatic, she's on all the social media. I mean, what she does is really suits her a lot. She's very good at that. She's also an optimistic person by nature. She has an optimistic approach toward life and outlook. She can adapt easily and be flexible when necessary, but she can also be quite impulsive and enthusiastic, always ready for another adventure. But she's also the fact that she's so sensitive and her feelings are easily hurt, and that she's very romantic with the Neptune Venus square and idealistic when it comes to love. She's prone to disappointment. She must avoid making emotional decisions, especially when it comes to love and money. It's very difficult for her to be truly satisfied and happy, and always feels that something is missing due to her Venus Neptune square and Moon in Pisces, opposition to Jupiter, which magnifies things. When it comes to marriages or partnerships, her seventh house is in double sign Gemini. So it's ruled by Mercury. And her Mercury in Scorpio is conjunct Uranus. This can definitely show sudden marriages or sudden divorces. Her marriages or partnerships are with unusual or extraordinary people, and there are power games within her relationships. Scorpio brings this energy too. Gemini on the cusp of the seventh indicates more than one marriage, and also that she may prefer younger partners because or unusual because Mercury conjuncts Uranus. All in all, her choices are shocking to other people. Her Venus-Neptune square makes her vulnerable when it comes to love, but quite creative and artistic on the other hand. Now, Pete Davidson, we don't have time of birth for him, so we don't know where his ascendant is. He has Sun in Scorpio, and Moon can be either in Sagittarius or Capricorn, because it's late Sag, and because we don't know the time of birth, it can be anywhere around that range. He has a 5-planet stellium in Scorpio. Actually, it's a bigger stellium, but 2 of the planets are in Capricorn, I mean Sagittarius, but the 5 of them are in Scorpio, which is very important, including 2 of the luminaries. Then dominant modality is fixed, so he's quite fixated person. He doesn't stubborn as well. He doesn't change his mind. But when he sets his mind on something, he's not going to give up until he's going to be pursuing it. But he's also dominant element water, so he's very sensitive. With 5 planets in Scorpio, he's definitely sensitive and intense. He has intense emotions. He lacks earth though, so he's not grounded at all. The most important natal aspects in his chart is the Sun-Pluto conjunction and Sun square Saturn. And his father, who was a firefighter, who died at the 9/11 attacks in the aftermath. So this was something that affected him immensely and deeply. He has also a younger sister, so he probably felt that he was the protector of the family, and he had to assume extra or responsibilities unsuitable for his age. He must have been 8 or 9 when the 9/11 attacks happened. So he has quite a strong water emphasis, which makes him rather sensitive and also quite fixated. He can get quite attached, and he has plenty of fire in his chart, so he has the ability to be driven and enthusiastic. But the strong fixed energy shows that he's emotionally driven. He's driven by his strong emotions. When he feels he has to do something, he has to feel it. It's not like somebody tells him or he has to follow instruction. No, if he doesn't feel it, he's not going to do anything. But when he feels something, he's not going to give up. He's going to pursue it until he achieves it, and he usually does. The lack of earth, though, and the strong water make him behave the way I just described. So even though we don't have his time of birth, in this case, because we know that the moon moved from 25 Sag to 8 Capricorn, and Kim's moon it's in Pisces, they have a square regardless of the exact time. However, it can be weaker or stronger depending on if it's a tighter or applying aspect or separating, and we don't know that for now. But what stands out in his chart is the tight Sun-Pluto conjunction. And I want to talk a bit about this because people who have Sun-Pluto, they are not random people. They are born to leave their mark on this life on Earth. It doesn't mean that they're going to be super famous or not. It's not an indication of fame. It's just an indication that whatever they do, it's something that will leave a mark and impact some people in a way. So that's important. And it's not easy to have Pluto in its sign of rulership. It's not easy to have Pluto in a good position anyway. So imagine to have it in Scorpio. It was there from 1983 to 1995. And to have Sun-Pluto conjunction, it means that this happened just a few days in those years. It wasn't the whole time. So only a few people have Sun-Pluto in Scorpio conjunction, and they're special people. So they're not random at all. He's quite dynamic and powerful, and he's here for a reason. Of course, he's very confident, determined, competitive, courageous, risk-taker, but he's also strategic and analytical because Scorpio strategizes in order to get what they want, and he never gives up until he gets it. And because Pluto is the highest octave of Mars, and Mars also does that, the difference is that he does it in a more strategic rather than impulsive way because he has a lot of fixed energy. So Pluto is very magnetic and sexual as well. And he has this magnetic attraction to him. In some photos that I saw, maybe he's not that good looking, but he has something that attracts the attention. Another strange coincidence is that whenever we have Pluto involved in the chart or with the, either with the sun or with the angles, it might be difficult to see clearly things because Pluto is hidden, it's not visible. And here we are not even sure of what his ascendant is or where his moon is. So I thought this was rather fitting in his case. So he's unquestionably very Plutonic. He has very strong Plutonian energy. So, and with the stellium in Scorpio, what you see, it's not what you get. But Kim Kardashian also has that what you see is not what you get because she has Neptune in the first house, which distorts her image. And it also makes it very cloudy or soft, the way she presents herself in many different ways. So when it comes to marriages, serious partnerships, he has Venus as ruler of his natural 7th house, and Kim is a Libra, a sign ruled by Venus. And his Venus is conjunct Mercury and Jupiter. The combination could actually be talking about looking for a famous social media queen to fall in love with. Because Venus, Mercury, Jupiter in the first house could be a social media queen. So there are similarities and differences. They are both very sensitive. They are both prone to depression. They have the same mentality and way of thinking because they both have Mercury in Scorpio. But this can be a double sword because Mercury in Scorpio never forgets. So at a given time and when there is an argument, they remember things from 20 years ago or whatever. They never forget anything and they bring it up when there is an argument. Also, they have Mars and Mars conjunction because they both have Mars. They are Mars in Sagittarius and it's a very tight conjunction. So this means that there is sexual attraction and their Mars is in a fire sign, which is even more passionate. But when we have Mars conjunctions in synastries, the two people can be very competitive with each other and there might be arguments. When there is a common cause to fight, they can fight together as one. But when they fight between them, it can get bad. So And also the other similarity they have is that neither has any retrograde planets in their natal chart. Actually, Pete's Mercury is slow because it has just turned direct 2 days before he was born. So I think it's very rare. I haven't seen many synastries in which the two parties both have direct planets. And the moon is very important in both of their charts. In Kim's chart, it's like looks like a single planet on the opposite end, like the handle of a fan. And in his chart, it's in the middle. It's in the arc between the first and last planet. It's in the middle, which also attracts all the energy. And he has Pete has North Node in Sagittarius, and Kim is a Sag. So these are very things that can be positive for them. Their differences is that Kim is flexible and Pete is very fixated and stubborn. And as I said before, no matter what his time of birth is, they still have moon, square moon, which is a difficult aspect in synastries because it talks about not having our emotional needs met. Or it can also talk about different families, circumstances, or different habits that cause a problem to the relationship. In any case, though, the composite moon is in Aquarius, and it's highly likely that there is a square to the sun as well in the composite, and therefore to Mercury and Pluto as well, which is not a good indication for the composite chart. In the composite chart, the hard aspects are much more important than the harmonious. Squares mean continuous tension, so this is a game-changing aspect for them, even though there is a bisextile in the composite, which does bring good luck and opportunity. Pluto to Moon is possibly the worst aspect to have in a composite chart because it causes depression. You might be feeling well enough, but when you are together with the other person, your mood changes and you feel kind of depressed. So, and this cannot be fixed. So I don't know how it can work. It's one of the main indicators of relationships that don't end well because they both partners experience this equally. So Sun square moon is also not a good indicator because in the composite, because also it shows actually in the composite as well, because in synastry is not good either, because the energy does not flow between the couple. It's like they cannot cooperate very well. The cooperation is not smooth, it's not flowing.
And
the positive aspect.
Something, Bianca.
Sure.
Have you noticed that the moons in the composite is the moon the most important planet to look at for aspects to see how well they'll feel emotionally together?
Yes, it shows the emotions of the couple.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, when the couple doesn't feel well emotionally together, it's a bad indication. And even if they have positive aspects, they are usually not enough to save the day. So this, and also when it comes to the composite, the transits work very well. It's they trigger it, so we see events during those times, and these difficult aspects in their composite chart will be triggered by Saturn and Uranus this year, especially in August and September, and on and off during the entire year. A possibility is that they will make some spontaneous decisions, jump the gun too soon or something, but they might later regret their decision. And in synastries, we like to see common aspects between, couples having, each individual having one aspect in their natal chart. Then the aspect is also in the synastry. It might not be the same, like conjunction. In the one chart it might be conjunction, in the other chart it might be a trine, in the synastry it might be a square or something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but it needs to involve the same planets. So by looking at their synastry, we would be saying that it's it's okay. It's a good synastry because they have some strong indications there. But if we add each one's personality into the mix and the composite, then it's not easy to work out because they are both very stubborn and no one will back off. And this will happen when serious issues show up. When minor issues are around, it's not that difficult. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to cause a huge problem. But if it's something really important, and the huge argument breaks out, they're both very stubborn to back down. So I don't know, that it's not a very good indication either. So I also looked at their midpoints, and Kim's ascendant conjuncts Pete's Mercury-Uranus midpoint and the Mercury-Neptune midpoint as well. And his Venus-Uranus midpoint and Neptune-Venus midpoint. So Pete fell in love immediately, and this was sudden and unexpected, but very exciting. He was enthusiastic about it. So, and it's something that it's lasting, and Pete can feel it every time he's together with Kim. Her Mercury-Uranus conjunction triggers his Venus-Mars midpoint, and because it's Uranus, and which is sudden and exciting and surprising, and Mercury, the mind, it means that the way she's thinking excites him sexually. She's triggering his passionate side. And Mercury exactly conjuncts her ascendant MC midpoint as well. His Mercury conjuncts her ascendant MC midpoint, which is a marriage midpoint as well. But Mercury is not it's not a planet for marriage for him, though. But we cannot rule it out anyway. Kim has Venus square Neptune in her chart, which is being triggered by transit Neptune right now. So she's really not seeing things clearly and wears pink-colored glasses. And the aspect is stronger because she has it in the natal chart as well. And it's happening by transits too. So they also have Neptune, Uranus, and Uranus-Venus trines in their synastry, which gives them this, gives her this feeling of idealism, that it's the most romantic love. It's a love that she was only fantasizing about, but she found it on Earth. And the Venus-Uranus also gives excitement, but it cannot last either. There is no continuity. And her Venus-Neptune comes up strong. So my conclusion is that even though they have a pretty good synastry, the challenging aspects will put it to the test because they are both free spirits, and Pete wants to control and restrict Kim's freedom, and she's not about to give that up. For them, this is my conclusion with regard to their relationship and the current astrologies, because they're both, which shows why they came together at this moment in time. They both have a lot going on in their lives astrologically at the moment. And for the past 2-3 years, Kim probably was feeling this way because the Neptune square was ongoing. Actually just finished now. She's maybe a month ago, it's just moving away. So she has been experiencing once in a lifetime Neptune square Neptune influence. And Neptune is transiting the 4th house.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. It's transiting the 4th house of home and family, but also the deepest emotions department. Luckily, the aspect just ended. The fact is that she's at a turning point in her life after going through a public and difficult divorce, and she has 4 kids, and she entered the 4th decade of her life. She will soon face Jupiter opposition Jupiter this summer, and next year she has Uranus opposition Uranus, which back in the day was the aspect of midlife crisis. And how fitting is that?
The midlife crisis.
Yes.
So
So the confusion.
his sun is on her Uranus, so he's her weird thing.
Yes, yes. That's why it was
Really
really
amazing
sudden
system,
and
yeah.
triggering that. So yeah, her Libra Sun and Sag rising always want to be in the center of attention or try to please people by adjusting or compromising for the sake of company. Um, so right now, because of the confusion and depression she was going on during the past years, the attention of a young, exciting, attractive, famous person really touched her sensitive chords. And for this stage of her life, it was easy for her to fall in love, because also her secondary progressed moon has just moved into Libra in the summer of 2021. So emotionally, she wants to be in a relationship. She's Libra Sun as well, so she's naturally into relationships. So the timing was perfect for this. Her Sun conjunct her Venus Mars midpoint, the sexuality midpoint. So his Uranus on her Sun triggers her sexuality, increases her sexuality. So, and also this explains on its own, her Sun in the midpoint of her Venus Mars explains her magnetism and that she's a super sexy person. Transit Pluto has just started squaring her Sun though, and therefore this midpoint as well. So,
That's so interesting. Pluto started squaring her Sun, and she's with a Plutonian, super supersonic person who is trying to control her. There will be some power there, maybe jealous, or maybe she feels obsessive as well. Very transformational relationships, who knows?
It's definitely a transformational relationship, and she's definitely going to go through a transformation time for the next 3 years, especially after her Neptune, square Neptune experience. But I think when we have this aspect, especially square, it's very difficult to commit to something because the internal changes are so deep and strong, and it's not easy to make serious commitments because other things are happening that require our attention. And Pluto is the most intense planet, so at least I expect her sexuality to explode, or her passion will culminate here. One of the two. She needs to be careful, though, because she can also become very attached, obsessed, possessive with this aspect. And he's a Scorpio as well, so it means something in her chart, this energy.
Might provoke on purpose. I know many intense Scorpios who on purpose provoke their partner to see how jealous they can get, how much they just give her tests, you know.
Right.
Constant testing, is it true? It's,
yes, and because he has his own insecurities as well, and he's a daring person. That's why he didn't have any problem to hit on her and express his attraction and all that jazz. But we cannot ignore that he has a lot of insecurities of his own, and the way he grew up and the circumstances he grew up. He's probably quite an insecure person and prone to depression. His chart screams that he's prone to depression, and she affects some of that. She triggers some of those energies. So we will see. I'm not sure.
I'm quite certain he's Capricorn Moon because he had, when Saturn was transiting those first degrees of Capricorn over his moon, he had like a big depression. He was becoming suicidal and stuff. And I'm quite certain his moon is in Capricorn. Maybe that's why he's drawn to successful older women type of thing.
Yes, it could be, even though he was engaged to Ariana Grande, though, who is not an older person.
Yeah, Ariana Grande.
So I'm not sure because
women.
with so many planets in Scorpio and other indications, his moon doesn't need to be in Capricorn to be prone to depression. It can be coming from other aspects.
I just remember that Saturn was transiting that area, and he said he's so depressed at that time and suicidal. So I was thinking maybe his moon is around those degrees, but you know, we never.
Yes, right. But you know, Saturn was in Sag before moving to Capricorn, and still passed from those the same degrees as well. And I'm not, well, there are ways to rectify it, but okay, who has the time? So, and generally over the next 3 years, I think she, at least Kim, will have her personality transformed. Also because all the Saturn and Uranus in fixed signs, and with all his planets there, he's gonna be hit hard over the next few years as well. It's not over, it already started, but will continue. And also from fall 2022 to mid 2023, Mars will be transiting her 7th house, which could bring issues. And Mars will, from Gemini for over 6 months, it will turn retrograde as well. There might be fights, or with other people. Maybe others will start telling her what she's doing and things like that. And just like Kim, Pete is also at a phase in his life that he was ready to fall in love again. And this got stronger in late December when Jupiter moved into Pisces, natural 5th house, and is trining natal Venus in Scorpio. And so our guy is very much in love, but he will face his own challenges because not only Uranus and Saturn are in fixed signs, also the nodes just moved into the Taurus Scorpio axis and will be there for 18 months. So the eclipses will be affecting him. And the first one on 16th of May 2022, it's right on his Pluto, affecting him directly. And the solar eclipse on 25th of October will happen on his Jupiter at 1 Scorpio. So he's also going through his first Saturn return so soon. So he's at a phase in his life. He's going through Saturn return. She's going through Uranus opposition. So he's getting more mature. She's getting more spontaneous. That's why they came together. So, and in March 2023, a year from now, Pluto from Aquarius will square his Jupiter in Scorpio, the first planet of his stellium. So he's going through an important phase. And that's all I wanted to say about them. I think it's really difficult. Okay, it was a bit more than I thought when I was writing it, but okay, I think it was interesting. So I think that even though they might both be feeling very excited and having a good time and can be talking about a lot of things together because they can communicate, they're from two different, completely different, they come from two completely different stages in their life and situations. So I'm really not sure that this is gonna work out in the long term, even though, as I said, they might make spontaneous decisions that they will later regret. It reminds me a bit of the Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher relationship, which they had a really bad synastry, and it was really, I mean, you could really see that it was not gonna work out. Okay, for them it's not that difficult. They have some good indications as well, but still it's not gonna be easy. And let's look at Jennifer and Ben a bit more quickly.
Maybe in 10 minutes, yeah. So yeah.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Do too long. Just like
yeah, it's shorter.
Things only. Yeah.
It's short. Yes, it's shorter for them. I just wanted to mention that the first time they got together was 2002 and 3. That was 19 years ago, and they almost got married, but they called it off a few days before the wedding. And then Jennifer married almost immediately to Mark Anthony. So, but right now, 19 years later, the nodes are in the same place. So, but what has brought them together, and is it going to work this time? I would assume that when two people come back together, it's because they had good chemistry in the first place, and also because they tend to forget the negative and the minuses. they get erased it like from their heads, and they remember only the good things. And when there is chemistry and it's re-triggered, they can get back together. So in their synastry, I wanted to check the attraction indications mostly, and whether differences, the differences that separated them before have ceased to exist. And they're both Leos, but Jennifer is a double Leo, and that brings a lot of ego. And when we have two strong fire signs, ego disputes are to be expected. So she has ascendant sun in Leo, moon in Scorpio. She has a strong fire modality and fixed element. And here, the most important aspects in her chart, it's Venus square Pluto and Sun Mercury square Saturn. And even though her chart is very distinct and very strong, actually, she has the bisextile with Pluto, Uranus, Jupiter on the apex. And this can show the, in the third house as well, can show the fame and the, as a singer, actress and stuff like that. But she has also the Venus square Pluto together with the South Node as well in her chart. And this is something that can make her unable to enjoy things or be satisfied in the long run. And also she's prone to affairs as well. That's what her chart indicates, either on her part or from her partner's side.
Yeah, and there's no helping aspect to this Venus. I mean, it's that's beyond.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
Typical for affairs, one of those aspects.
Yes, exactly. And Mercury, Sun conjunction, squaring Saturn in fixed signs can be showing that she works hard, but she's also insecure deep down. Maybe it's coming from the father. And finally, her Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, it's a definite indication of breakups and many marriages, because Uranus is ruler of the 7th house. So with Jupiter, it can show many marriages, or the other way around. And Jupiter is a general indicator of marriage, and with the Uranus, it can also show many breakups and many marriages. On the other hand, Ben Affleck is a Cancer ascendant, but he also has his sun in Leo and he has his moon in Scorpio. So they both have suns in Leo and moons in Scorpio. His modality, though, it's mutable, and but also his dominant element, fire. And the important aspects in his chart is Sun Mars square Neptune and Mars trine Jupiter, and he has Venus on the ascendant as well, which makes him attractive and charming. So he's also quite sensitive because his Cancer rising and his ruling planet, the moon, is in Scorpio. So he has deep and intense emotions, and he's prone to depression as well, or to negative thoughts. And because he also has this hard Mars Neptune aspect, which is an aspect which also indicates either infidelity or addictions, or he's prone to abuse of all kinds, or escapism. And because he's very sensitive, this is actually quite strong in his chart. And they also both have Mercury in Leo, both of them, so they can communicate on the same level. And it's very important for them. But the bad thing is that she puts Mars on his Mars Neptune square, so her really strong Mars, active Mars, triggers his difficult, challenging aspect in synastry. So this is one indication that I didn't like when I saw. And also they have Jupiter square Jupiter, which means that they have different opinions, different belief systems, or different religions. They were brought up in different with different religions or something. But the fact that they have different opinions on basic stuff, it's one of the main reasons that made them break up, I think. I don't know their story, but it's important. You need to have the same perspective on life, the same outlook. So they have an okay synastry, more on the good side, let's say, but 2-3 aspects are quite negative. And like Ben's Saturn, which conjuncts her Venus, sorry, and her Venus is the planet in her chart that has no, does not receive any positive aspects, and has the Venus-Pluto square as well. So he triggers her difficult aspect with his Saturn, and she triggers his difficult aspect with her Mars. So, and his Neptune also was stationary, so it's stronger. When planets are stationary, it means that their energy is continuous, and it's even more stronger. So she can basically push him back to his vice.
To his vice. So he'll be shouting, he'll be puffing on his cigarettes, drinking, he'll be putting it down, telling you that you're not as young, as beautiful with his Saturn all over Venus.
Yes, exactly.
Saturn, Venus. Saturn is to repeat something. Venus is relationship. Maybe that's what's bringing them together.
Yes, that can bring them together as well, for sure.
Yeah.
And then his Jupiter Venus trine, because he tends to have good feelings for her. So they forget and also Mars Neptune, you kind of forget what you do, and then you only remember the good stuff. It's like a cloud in front of you. And I don't remember seeing anything about them arguing publicly or anything like that. But we must not forget that they both have Moon in Scorpio, so they like to keep things private. And if they're arguing, they're doing that privately. In the composite chart, they have Venus square Pluto, which is another very difficult aspect to have in the composite, because it means that there is no trust in the relationship. There is suspicion, jealousy, one partner spies on the other. They can be checking each other's phones or stalking each other. You know, the breakups are nasty. It's not an easy situation. And they also have Sun square Moon. And also, as I said before, because Kim and Pete also have Sun square Moon, it means that the cooperation is not easy, it's not flowing. So the Saturn Neptune opposition is also challenging in the composite, because it means that they cannot balance, they cannot find balance, and they are either overly unrealistic or overly fearful, too cautious, or constantly worried about one another in the relationship, and both feel it the same way. It's an equal thing. Right now, Jennifer's solar return for 2021, she was, the solar return ascendant was right on her natal Venus and his Saturn then. There was a full moon in conjunction to Pluto. The solar return sun was in the 3rd house on the cusp of the ascendant, and therefore also the solar moon was on the opposite cusp on the 7th house. But in the solar return, it was in the cusp of the 9th house. So it combined 7th and 9th house, which could show second marriage, which is not second marriage for Jennifer, but I don't know. Full moons mean culmination, conclusion of something that was started earlier. And in any case, it indicates an important year for her, a year of conclusions or culminations. And especially when Mars goes into Gemini for 6 months and will be opposing her 5th house and triggering her Venus-Pluto square, this will be a testing time for them. Mars will station retrograde at 25 Gemini and station direct at 8 Gemini. Ben currently has Jupiter trining his natal Venus, which is sitting on his ascendant, so he's in love as well. And a few months ago, he had progressed moons on his natal Sun, which means a new moon, a new cycle. In his solar return for 2021, Venus was on the cusp of the ascendant, both conjunct Pluto and squaring natal Jupiter, which is another indication that he's in love. Both of them individually had the prospect to fall in love in 2021. And this year, the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction will happen on Jennifer's North Node in the 9th house, and will also trigger her natal Venus square Pluto North Node in the 3rd house. Jupiter currently sextiles her Saturn. progressed secondary moon at the very end of Libra. So for the past 2.5 years, she was craving relationships more, but the moon will enter Scorpio within the next 2 weeks and will be there for the next 2.5 years. So she's going to be prone to depression or closed emotions. And she's about to have, this means she's about to have her second progressed moon return as well. And these are indications that were present for them to fall back into love again. The fact that 19 years later, the nodes return to the same place, it's also important. I think it might show that this was no random get together. So in conclusion, I don't rule out the possibility of marriage for them, even this summer, but in the long run, staying together might prove to be too hard for them. And when Pluto goes into Aquarius for a test period in March 2023, and then permanently in 2025, her 7th house will be triggered, and Pluto will also trine the natal Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Uranus is ruler of the 7th and Jupiter of the 9th house. So they might marry at some point this time around. They might not, but I don't think they will stay forever together.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Ben said yesterday, not Ben, Jennifer, that they are wiser now and that they didn't get back together to break up. But okay, what was she going to say?
Oh, well, thank you so much, Bianca. I hope if they're meant to be, or but it shows quite a few difficulties, as you pointed out.
Yeah, maybe they just need to be together without being officially married, having a more open kind of relationship, but they're both so suspicious and controlling and fixated that they cannot live with that, I think.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. That was so in-depth.
Thank you. Thank you.
If anyone would like to contact Bianca for an in-depth reading, it might be a synastry. I know you're very good at the horary, answer to one question as well, specific. You can check out Bianca's services below. Welcome to the team. I hope you can
Thank you so much.
Right people, help the right people here. God will put you in touch with whoever you're meant to help and whoever is meant to learn from you. And looking forward to having you back again on the channel with another in-depth presentation like that, Bianca.
I'm so looking forward to. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Us.
You too. Bye.